Pete Alonso is back. Dial 888-808-1019. We're going to talk all about it. Pete Alonso was always coming back. He was always going to be a Met. But the way that this shook out, Mets fans, you got to be excited about who's in control. Steve Cohen, David Stearns. Those two together as a tandem, they're a powerful tag team. The richest and smartest in the room, they won. Amazing Day helped. You won. You helped. Fans that wanted Pete back, you helped. Somebody had to give a little bit. Obviously, Pete and Boris gave a lot of it, and it's just money for Steve Cohen. He gave some more money. We're going to talk all around it. So, Pete Alonso's deal with the New York Mets, pending physical, is for 2 years and includes an opt-out after the first season. He'll make $30 million this year, $24 million the next year, signing a $10 million signing bonus. Now, there's so many things to unpack here with this, right? Here we are late on February 5th, soon to be February 6th. They get this deal done. Obviously, in a week, pitchers and catchers report. Spring training will be upon us. Pete is down there working out in Florida. A guy that went to the University of Florida guy. Like, I knew he wanted to, get this done and be in camp. So he gets the highest AAV for a first baseman. That's a lot of money. Maybe in your eyes, he's not worth that much money, but this is a win for the Mets. It's not the long-term deal he was seeking. This is a guy that turned down $158 million, $90 million, $70 million, and ultimately might not even make the $54 million because I think the writing is on the wall here. Like, this guy's 27 home runs away from being the Mets' all-time leader in home runs. He can get that done this year. Juan Soto is here, and he gets to bet on himself again, now hitting behind Juan Soto and have another prove-it year, opt out, and test the market again. And whether he stays with Scott Boras or not, which I think he's inclined to stay with Scott Boras, I think that all the conversations that they may or may not have had with Toronto, it lines up here for Pete to go to the Blue Jays and for Vladdy to still be a Met. 888-808-1019. Mets fans, that are on two different sides. The Mets fans are like, I don't care about Vladdy, I want Pete. And the Mets fans that are like, oh, to hell with Pete, we want Vladdy. Well, you could probably get both. Maybe not this year. I don't expect you to trade for Vladdy now, but in the near future, I certainly see a future where Pete Alonso has a better year this year, and we'll have to take a look at the free agent class of 2026, what first basemen are going to be out there, what boppers are going to be out there, what power hitters are going to be out there. But, now, Pete's has got to be carefree, say, F it, man. I'm on a team with Juan Soto. I get to potentially break this home run record. I'm back with the Mets. I get the bag. It's the most money that he's ever seen, that he's ever had. He gets that. And if he comes in here and hits 45 home runs, puts up triple-digit ribbies, he could get that bag of money from the Rogers Center that they tried to throw at Juan Soto. They tried to give $700 to him, $700 to Ohtani. Well, if Vladdy isn't re-signed and doesn't stay in Canada, there's already some seeds planted where maybe Pete goes there to get the money. But, we don't have to, live in the future. Maybe he stays with the Mets. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he opts in. Maybe he does the 2 years and things change. Maybe Vladdy, we don't know. But let's not even worry about the future so much right now. Right now, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio, your internal options that Steve Cohen and David Stearns said that they were good with at Amazing Day. Now you don't got to worry so much about that. Mark Vientos continue to work on third base, stay over there. Pete is back at first. The lineup looks a lot different with Pete versus without. 888-808-1019. You got to feel good about the offseason as a whole now, right? They finessed this. This is nothing. I just saw somebody say to me, $30 million's not cheap. In the grand scheme of things, yeah, it is. And they don't care about the luxury tax. It exists for Steve Cohen. They're trying to win. And I talk so much about the pieces of the puzzle. Last year's team, Last year's team that got to the NLCS, trying to bring those same guys back, right? You lost a couple guys, but, you bring back Jesse Winker. You bring back Sean Manaea. You bring back Pete Alonso. You add Juan Soto. It's a good offseason for the Mets. 888-808-1019. I'm not going to waste too much time. We're going to get to the phone. The updated lineup for the Mets, obviously Francisco Lindor leading off. Juan Soto batting second, depending on who you ask. Mark Vientos third, Pete Alonso fourth, Brandon Nimmo fifth, Jesse Winker sixth, Jeff McNeil seventh, Jose Siri eighth, Francisco Alvarez ninth. I saw Mets Muse put that up there. I saw Frank the Tank come out with his lineup. Call me up and tell me yours. Nobody knows what it's going to be, man. We got to get to the baseball. But when he put his lineup together, he said the lineup looks a lot different now. He had Lindor leading off, Nimmo batting second, Alonso batting third, Soto batting fourth, Vientos batting sixth, Winker/Marte DH batting seventh, Alvarez eighth, McNeil or Acuna batting ninth. Like, there's some possibilities here. And all roads led back to this. I was saying during the season, he's having a down year. He's not having the prove it year he thought. He's not having the bet on me year that he thought. And that's going to play right into the Mets' hands, and it did. He was offered a 3-year deal for $71 million and took the 2 years. Took the more money up front right now with the opt-out, and it gives him the flexibility to maybe hit free agency after a better year next year and go get a long-term deal elsewhere. I think he's kind of, through this whole experience, realized, hey, there's not a long-term future here in Queens, but he can get the money grab right now, and Steve Cohen doesn't mind giving him that money. Let's go to Mike in Bayonne first. Mike, thanks for calling. You're on.
Hey, Keith. Thanks for having me on. First time, long time. I just wanted to see, what your thoughts were, though. We're talking about money here. Do you think this is, the long-term solution, though, for this? Or is this, more of, a...
How could it be long-term? It's not a long-term deal.
Yeah, do you think this is just, a temporary solution for the Mets? My concern is, we're giving him the money, but, is this a long-term solution? Because it seems like a short-term solution right now.
It can't be a long-term solution. It's a 2-year deal. You know what I'm saying? He's going to probably most likely opt out after 1 year. This is a 1-year money grab. This is hey, we want you here, right? Somebody had to bend, and they both did. Pete and Boris gave up on trying to get a long-term deal with the years. And as far as the money is concerned, Stearns and Cohen said, here's some more money. Here's $30 million. He wasn't getting $30 million anywhere else. Not the Blue Jays, not the Anaheim Angels, anywhere else. They kind of, as much as fans called and talked about, come on, this is the richest owner in the sport. He can't give a little to Pete. He did for 1 year. It's the AAV, not the actual years. None of this is long term. This is a short term. Hey, we need you here. The lineup looks better with you here. We want you here in camp. You don't want to go elsewhere. Let's figure it out. And they figured it out in the short term. And it doesn't exclude a long-term deal from happening. But right now, you can't really look too far down the line.
Yeah, but do you think that there's some bitterness with Lindor getting a big contract compared to him getting a very short-term contract?
If there is some bitterness, it's only within Pete, and Pete should use that as motivation. Thanks for the call, Mike. 888-808-1019. If there's some bitterness, if there's some animosity, if there's some hard feelings, channel it and go hit 45, 50 home runs. Josh is in Passaic. Next up on the Fan. What's up, Josh?
Good, Keith. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I was walking in thinking I was going to talk about Eli Manning and the Hall of Fame, talk about Jason Dominguez's number change, Aaron Judge having a baby, the Super Bowl. Nope. Pete Alonso news broke.
Right, they're not, they're not giving us a chance to talk about the Super Bowl. You think, that you have a Luka trade, and now then you have, day later the Aaron Fox trade,
Jimmy Butler.
Right now, Jimmy Butler, now Pete Alonso, and
Jericho
and now that
Sims.
tomorrow, it could be Kevin Durant on the move.
Kuzma, yeah.
Right, so who knows? So they're not going to chance for the Super Bowl, and I don't know if you've looked at the Super Bowl tickets, but those things are they're not cheap, but compared to what it was in past years, you could get
in
in
New
for
Orleans. It's in the Superdome. It's
under $4,000 now. You could get in.
Sure.
Pretty crazy.
I bet you they get bought up. I bet you there's a big crowd there.
Right. So I love this deal, Keith. I did not want them to get him long term. Especially last year he had that big hit, but he didn't have such a big prove-it year. This is great, and looking at that lineup looks great in the front five. After that gets a little whatever, but Jose Iglesias, though, I know it's very unlikely they'll sign him, but you never know. It shouldn't be too expensive, and he hasn't signed with any other team yet. I would be very interested in putting him at the 9th spot. So let's say he bats 270, 280, give a 0.50% drop off from last year. So it's not 330. And then you have him batting 9th, and then you have those 5 guys right after him. That's how. Then the rest.
I think they go younger.
Fine.
I think the Nick Madrigal signing, like when they signed Nick Madrigal, that was kind of like signaling.
What is the point of that signing? At least Jose Iglesias had been like an all-star.
Yeah, but he's
previously in his
he's
career.
younger. He's a guy that can play the same positions as Iglesias. He has options. And I really do believe that David Stearns is like, hey, OMG was cool last year, Candelito, but let's not go to the well again. Let's move on from that. They might not feel like Jose Iglesias can produce what he did last year. Maybe that was just a one-time thing, flash in a pan, everything going right for him with his music career and his baseball career. They could bring him back. I think that they've already kind of moved on from that.
And then, I don't like that they keep putting McNeil in that middle. I would love if Acuna or Mauricio. I'm just hoping, if one of them plays very well this year, all of a sudden, this lineup's loaded. And they always said if Alvarez, lives up to his hype as being, the number one prospect in baseball, you never know. And, a few months into the season, they could have one that's rivaling the Dodgers. But, you're going to need things to pan out. And another thing, which is that I recently saw the Mets are showing a drop of interest. They want to connect a little bit with Mark Canha. And versus Jose Siri, I know Jose Siri gives that pop, but I'll be fine if Mark Canha, if they were splitting time and we'll see how that goes out. He thinks take my call, and I'll get to the rest of the callers. Good move to get Alonso, and, let's see how it goes. Thank you.
A great move to get Alonso on February 5th for a potential total of $54 million. Might not even be that. $10 million bonus, $64 million. Really $40 million. The $10 million bonus, the $30 million he'll make this year, and then he's going to opt out. When you have a $20 billion owner, that's how you play the game. Stearns won. Cohen won. Boras did not win. We heard Boras was looking for a Cecil Fielder type contract. All these different things had been said. After all is said and done, more is always said than done. 888-808-1019. The Mets have won. It's a good offseason for the Mets to bring Pete back. Like I said, amazing day. Not this past Saturday, but 2 Saturdays ago, the fans made their voices heard, and the owner spoke on it, and I think that was tactical. I said, Steve Cohen is a cold-blooded killer. He told you he wasn't feeling the negotiations and how they were going. And then next thing you know, they got back to the drawing board in between that time. And Pete Alonso doesn't leave. He stays with the only team he's ever played for. And like I said, he's 27 homers away from being the all-time leader. He's going to do that this year if he stays healthy. And then all of the talk about protecting your $805 million of investment in Juan Soto, you get that done. And the lineup looks better. The lineup looks different. And maybe they do go after a Jose Iglesias or a Mark Canha. They don't have to. A lot of Mets fans I'm talking to online are saying, go get Dylan Cease. Go get Dylan Cease now. And my response to that was, well, hey, maybe you can if you're willing to part with a Brett Beatty or a Ronnie Mauricio, right? Now that you're not leaning so much on your young guys and evaluating the prospects and younger talent that you have, your internal options, Pete coming back for a year, maybe you give to go get a Dylan Cease. But I also think that they're content with their starting pitching, their starting pitching depth, their bullpen. Like the bullpen, I don't know. I think it's a good offseason for the Mets. I think David Stearns is a pro at this. I think the combination of the president of baseball operations being such a mastermind with his moves and his baseball knowledge and what he does, And then you combine that with Steve Cohen, who's a savvy businessman with endless pockets, who's learning the game as well. Together, them as a tandem, they go get Juan Soto. They fill in a couple other blanks. And now Pete Alonso does not leave. After all the conversations we were having about Pete Alonso potentially leaving, he's still here. Let's go to Stefan in Utica on the Fan. What's up, man?
Hi, Keith. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a big Mets fan, and I'm happy that Polar Bear is back playing first base for the New York Mets, and he gives him a 1-2 punch with Juan Soto, and I hope it could be a championship year this year or next year for the New York Mets.
I think that's the plan, right? I think that's the hope, to get back to the NLCS and win it. Beat the Dodgers, get to the World Series. Who knows?
And maybe they could meet the Yankees in the Fall Classic.
Right. Maybe they could meet the Diamondbacks. Maybe they could meet the Guardians. I can't wait for baseball to start. We have no idea. But I know that you look at your roster now, you look at your lineup now, you feel better that Pete Alonso is back.
Yeah, I feel a lot better, and hopefully it's a championship year.
Thanks for the call. Yeah, maybe you win the division. Maybe you win the NL. It's a long way to go, though. I think last year was such a get hot, 9 lives, on your last leg, do or die type of thing. It's going to be hard to duplicate that. That's another reason why you need Pete, because you need to come out of the gate swinging, pun intended. You need to come out of the gate hitting and hitting home runs, scoring runs, and competing. There can't be a lull. There can't be a letdown. And it's funny, one of the callers said, they're not letting us talk about the Super Bowl. Josh and Passaic, we're going into the Super Bowl week, and people are having Chiefs fatigue. Last night I said we were having Pete fatigue. Some people were saying they didn't want him. Some people were saying they were over it. Some people were saying he shouldn't come back. He's good as gone. We didn't know over these last 2-3 weeks. But ultimately, all roads were leading to them staying. There was no market for Pete. They just needed to figure out a deal, and they figured out a short-term deal where nobody knows what's going to happen, man. Nobody knows. I think that Pete would have it in his mind that he wants to come back, have another prove-it year, a mulligan, a second shot at it, potentially opt out, and then go test the market again. And then next year, as I talk about, I got to look up the 2026 free agent class. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be there. And if the Mets do want to pursue Vladdy, who's a friend of Juan Soto, and as you've heard on the Fan, people saying, he's not working out an extension with Toronto. Steve Cohen's going to be able to pay him. We want Vladdy. Well, if the writing is on the wall for that, the writing is also on the wall for Pete to fire up contract negotiations again with the Blue Jays, and they might be more inclined to pay him and give him a 5-year deal next year. 888-808-1019.